Imagine waking up one morning to find a bright orange construction fence being hammered into the ground. Right, across your own lawn. That's exactly what happened to me, and at first, I thought it was some sort of mistake. But then I saw her. Patricia, our HOA president, standing there with a smug grin, clipboard in hand, barking at a contractor like she was directing a movie scene. "Make sure the posts go deep. This land belongs to the community now," she shouted. I blinked, completely stunned. Community? That yard was mine. It was clearly listed on my deed, and I'd spent years maintaining it. Mowing, planting, even building a small stone path. Now here she was, trying to annex it like some HOA emperor. I stormed outside and confronted her. "Patricia, what do you think you're doing?" She didn't even flinch, correcting a boundary error. "This portion of grass is actually HOA property. We voted to reclaim it." I almost laughed. "Voted? You can't vote to take my land. That's not how property works." Patricia's grin widened. "Oh, you'll see. Once the fence is up, it's ours. You can bring it up at the next meeting if you like." Neighbors peeked from their windows, whispering. Some looked amused, others concerned. I felt rage boiling in my chest. This wasn't just overreach, this was theft. But I knew better than to escalate with yelling. Instead, I pulled out my phone and snapped pictures of everything. The fence posts, Patricia's clipboard, even the contractor shrugging as if to say, "Not my problem." "Go ahead, take all the pictures you want," Patricia said smugly. "But unless you can prove otherwise, this land is ours." And that's when it clicked. Proof. If she wanted to fight over boundaries, I'd bring the one weapon she couldn't argue with. A licensed land surveyor. That night, I dug out my property deed, spreading it on the kitchen table. My lot lines were crystal clear. I also found the old survey map from when I bought the house. There was no ambiguity. That strip of grass was mine, fair and square. Patricia had either misread the map, or worse, was deliberately twisting things to grab more control. I picked up the phone, called a surveyor I trusted, and set an appointment. If Patricia wanted to play games with fences, I'd give her a reality check she'd never forget. Because in this battle, the truth was on my side, and soon, the entire neighborhood would see it. The surveyor arrived 2 days later. A calm man named Richard, who carried more authority in his toolkit than Patricia ever could in her clipboard. When his white truck pulled up, Patricia was already outside, arms crossed, lips pursed like she'd been waiting to pounce. "Ah, finally," she said, striding over. "You can confirm what I already know. This patch belongs to the HOA. I've read the maps myself." Richard didn't even look at her. "Ma'am, I'll make my own determination. Please step aside while I begin." I had to suppress a grin. Finally, someone who wasn't intimidated by her theatrics. He unfolded his gear, hammered down his tripod, and began sighting through the scope. Patricia hovered close, muttering about bylaws and community good, but Richard tuned her out. I stood at the edge of the lawn, watching every measurement, every careful line he traced with his GPS marker. After half an hour, he turned toward me. "Sir, based on these markers, this yard is clearly within your deeded property line. There's no overlap with HOA land." I couldn't resist. "You hear that, Patricia?" Her face darkened. "That can't be right. The HOA maps show different boundaries." Richard straightened up, pulling a folded document from his case. "HOA maps aren't legal documents. County survey records are, and according to those, this land belongs to him. Not you, not the HOA." The smug smile that had been glued to her face all week finally cracked. For the first time, Patricia looked nervous. But instead of backing down, she doubled down. "These records must be outdated," she snapped. "I'll have my own survey done. Until then, the fence stays." Richard calmly shook his head. "Ma'am, leaving that fence here is trespassing. You've encroached on his private property. If he chose to press charges, he'd have grounds." The blood drained from her face. She glanced at the contractor, who was suddenly pretending to be fascinated by his shoelaces. The neighbors, who had gathered in small clusters to watch, started whispering louder. I stepped forward. "Patricia, I'll give you until tomorrow evening to remove every piece of that fence. If it's still here after that, I'll let the county handle it." She sputtered, but for once, no words came out. The queen of the HOA had finally been cornered, and she knew it. That night I sat on my porch, listening to the faint sounds of Patricia dragging fence posts out of the ground. Each thud of wood hitting the dirt was music to my ears. But something told me Patricia wasn't finished yet. The next morning, my yard looked clear again. The fence was gone, every post yanked out, every roll of orange mesh hauled away. On the surface, it seemed like victory. But with Patricia, I knew better. She wasn't the type to admit defeat. She was the type to plot in silence. Sure enough, later that afternoon, an official-looking envelope landed in my mailbox. Stamped with the HOA's logo, it reeked of intimidation. I opened it at the kitchen table and read aloud. Notice of violation. Unauthorized occupation of common. Land. Immediate. Removal of personal belongings, including stone path and landscaping, is required within 7 days, or fines will accrue at a rate of $200 per day. I laughed so hard I nearly spilled my coffee. Patricia hadn't just ignored the surveyor. She'd doubled down with paperwork, as if a piece of HOA stationery could erase county property records. I marched straight to the HOA office, envelope in hand. Patricia was sitting behind the desk, tapping her pen, clearly expecting me. "Did you enjoy your little survey stunt?" She sneered. "Well, it doesn't matter. The board has ruled, and that yard is community property. Remove your junk or the fines begin." I laid the survey report on her desk with a satisfying thump. "Patricia, this isn't a stunt. This is a certified document from a licensed surveyor. You're trespassing on my land, and this notice? It's worthless." Her eyes flickered, but she recovered quickly. "Then take it up in court. The HOA has more resources than you do." That's when I pulled out my phone and hit record. The little red light blinked as I asked, "Patricia, are you refusing to acknowledge legal survey results and continuing to harass me with fraudulent fines?" She froze. For a moment, the mask slipped, and I caught the panic in her eyes. She knew how bad this would look if I brought it to the county. Or worse, to social media. "You can't record me without permission," she snapped, reaching for the phone. I pulled it back. "Yes, I can, and trust me, Patricia. If you keep this up, the whole neighborhood will see what kind of president they elected." I walked out, leaving her fuming behind the desk. Neighbors waiting in the lobby gave me curious looks, and I made sure to wave the survey report where everyone could see. That night, my inbox lit up with messages from other homeowners, people who'd been bullied by Patricia, too. Turns out, I wasn't the only one she'd tried to strong-arm, and together, we started planning her downfall. The momentum we built became a small tidal wave. Neighbors who'd silently suffered. Patricia's micromanaging reached out with photos, old emails, and stories of unexplained fines. We compiled everything into a single folder. Dates, receipts, the surveyor's certified map, and the audio recording from the HOA office. It felt like stacking stones until the whole foundation cracked. The county attorney reviewed the packet and said bluntly, "You've got a strong claim. The survey is clear, and there's evidence of harassment." The county issued a cease and desist to the HOA and scheduled a hearing. Patricia's confidence began to unravel. She tried damage control. At the next HOA meeting, she arrived with a smile that looked hunted. I sat near the back while homeowners asked pointed questions about fines, unilateral decisions, and why records had changed. Patricia answered with prepared lines, but each dodge drew more suspicion. Someone mentioned the cease and desist. The room leaned forward like a held breath. At the hearing, Patricia shuffled into the county office without her usual pomp. The judge reviewed the survey, the county record, the recording, and the pattern of fines. Each piece fit together like a dam with cracks exposed. The ruling was concise. Remove any HOA claim to the yard, reimburse fines, and the HOA must pay court costs. The judge also ordered a governance review. The fallout was immediate. Patricia resigned within a week, citing personal reasons. Allies dispersed. Some apologized to neighbors. The HOA elected new officers who promised transparency. The stone path I'd built remained where it always had, now a small symbol of perseverance. People came by over the next weekends, bringing coffee, burgers, and stories. We turned confrontation into a block party that felt like healing. Homeowners admitted they were tired of staying quiet. My small victory helped others reclaim their voice. Patricia moved away a month later. Rumors said she'd started over in another town. But the real lesson stayed. Don't let unchecked power fester. The neighborhood kept watch, and new bylaws required independent audits and clearer dispute channels. I kept the survey in a safe place, but mostly, I kept the memory of how calling a professional changed everything. That evening I stood by the stone path and watched. Kids race across the yard that had once been disputed. Laughter spilled into the street like sunlight. I thought about how small acts, taking pictures, calling a surveyor, staying calm, turned intimidation into accountability. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this story, make sure to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss more crazy HOA battles. Drop a comment below telling us what you would have done in my situation. And don't forget to smash that like button if you want more epic neighborhood showdown stories.